Bienvenidos, mijitos! Welcome to Cuentos de las Sombras. I'm Jackie the Jackalope, and we're back with 2 brand new stories to share with you, all from right here in Nuevo Mexico. I'm so happy you're here with me today. Yay! Well, hitos, it's my favorite time of year. The balloons are floating over Albuquerque, and the cold chill is coming in at night to remind us that the spooky season is here. And what better way to celebrate than with some spooky stories? Well, you are all in luck, because my friends are here to help me share los cuentos. So everyone, say hello to the Shadowcast. Hi guys, thanks for coming. You ready to tell some spooky stories? I know you are. Thanks. All right, shoo, off with you, rapido. We need to get this show ready to go. Okay, let's get this show started. But before we begin, I must warn you all. These stories today are pretty scary. Yeah, as scary as shadows can be. Which, as we'll see, can cause quite a fright in viewers as old as you and me. Our first story comes from a young gravekeeper tasked with watching over El Campo Santo on the eve of Dia de los Muertos in Chile, New Mexico. Yeah, sounds scary, right? I know. Let's check out Walking Cemetery by Lila Martinez, J.D. Ozuka, and Caroline Toby Graham.
I'm the only woman gravekeeper this side of the Rio. It's a point of pride, but it also means I gotta work twice as hard, keep the grounds looking twice as nice, stop teens from lighting smoke bombs on tombstones for their weird little photo shoots, that sort of thing. It's not a bad life. The departed are decent company. Many summers ago, I got assigned a night shift at Cementerio de los Angeles Vivos. I had been there on day shift before and to visit my tia Aurelia. It's nice. The graveyard's pretty. Green grass, lots of trees, beautiful flowers. It's peaceful. It's got good energy. A night shift should be easy, right? So when they told me, I said, yeah, sounds great. And all the men in the room laughed, like I just told the greatest joke of the century. Eventually, my supervisor wipes away a tear and says, right, no, yeah, I'm sure you can handle them. Handle who? The smoke bomb teens? Yep, sure I could. I didn't get what was so funny about it. Until Dia de los Muertos rolled around. That's when I got the joke. I made a lot of rookie mistakes those first couple of years, and every year, all the men just made more jokes. They called me Estera, which means Matt, because Los Santos would walk all over me. I finally had enough. I vowed that next year was going to be different. I remember like it was yesterday. I packed my bag that morning, ready to finally show everybody that I was a force to be reckoned with. They were not going to get away with it this time. Year after year, they acted like this, coming out and partying, not caring about anyone else but themselves. I always had to clean up after them. And for what? For them to come back next year and do it all over again. They didn't respect me or my authority. But this year, it was all gonna change. I went to the graveyard like any other shift. I did my rounds like I do every night, start at the bottom by the entrance and work my way up the hill. I always take my lunch break by Tia Aurelia's grave. I set a thermos of atole next to her. It'd still be warm for her when she came up. I did my last round, made sure we had extra trash bins on every corner. I made sure to put arrows so people could stay on the path. I even put up those solar panel lights to make sure people could see them at night. I remember it was about 5 o'clock when the first timers came. People that have traveled far to experience Dia de los Muertos but are too scared to come at night, so they watch the parade and then check back into their hotels. After they left, that's when I pulled out my bag with all the books and traps. I turned to chapter 13, step-by-step instructions on how to trap a ghost. Step 1, pour salt around the areas you want to contain the spirit. Step 2, have jars of hallowed ground ready for entrapment. Step 3, draw the ghosts in with candlelight. So that's exactly what I did. I sectioned the graveyard off into 4s with salt lines. I scooped up dirt from a freshly dug grave and put it in some jars. I had candles and a box of matches for when I needed them. I put everything in my bag and went to the front gate to greet everyone. Once the sun set, the music started, pan dulce filled the air, marigolds overflowed, and sure enough, out they came. Senor Garcia, who started the tire store, Doña Della, who died of a broken heart, and even Chuy, Tia Aurelia's dog that cousin Hector was taking care of after she died. Now Chuy could be a problem. You see, dogs aren't allowed in this graveyard unless it's on a leash, dead or not. Who knows what kind of damage he could cause that I'd be responsible for? I made eye contact with Chuy, and he knew that look I gave him, and he darted up the hill. I knew exactly where he was heading. He was looking for Tia Aurelia's grave. I headed up the hill hoping I could catch him from the other side. He didn't find Tia, but I found him. Then I realized I forgot to salt the back way. We stared at each other to see who would make the first move. He knew that back way well. Chuy, stop!
No! I must find Mama Aurelia!
She's here, Chuy.
You are here.
Yes.
And I am here.
Yes.
And Mama Aurelia?
Yes.
She's not here. She must be at home.
No, she will be here soon. You must be patient. Now go on back.
But it's a holiday.
Yes, but there are still rules.
Oh, I'll be right back. I can run very fast. I must go see Mama Aurelia.
No, she'll be here any minute.
Look! A fire! One of your candles has fallen over.
I turned to look and realized I had been tricked by a dog. And sure enough, he was bolting straight for the path. I started to follow him, but at that moment, Tia came up. I had really missed her. She drank the atole I brought for her, sipping it slowly and watching the families reuniting below. I told her about Chuy. She was sad to hear he had passed, but happy to be reunited if he came back. I could tell she was worried, knowing this was his first Dia de los Muertos, and if he didn't return before sunrise, he couldn't rest. As I searched the hill, I could see the whole graveyard lit up with candles. Spirits being drawn to living with their favorite foods filling the air. The pan, the birria, the tacos, tequila. I wondered what my family would bring me. And that's when it hit me. I could bring Chuy back with his favorite food. But what was his favorite food? I had to find Tia again and ask. I ran down the hill, and it was so crowded it was taking way too long to find her. Everyone was all bunched together, surrounded by the salt lines. I had to get them to disperse so I could find Tia faster, so I kicked dirt through the lines, and the spirits started to walk freely through the graveyard. I still didn't see Tia, but I saw Hector. He would know. Hector! Hi, Senora Martin. Sorry for interrupting. Hector, what was Chuy's favorite food to eat?
Chuy loved his weekly caldo. I just mixed what was left over from the week and put it to boil. He loved all those different smells and flavors.
Gracias, Hector. Good to see you, Senora Martin. I excused myself and started to make plans. I would lure him with some caldo, trap him in a jar of hallowed ground, and bring him back. But how was I supposed to make caldo? My stomach rumbled just thinking about it. I think Juanito must have heard it from around the corner because he tossed me some pan still warm from his father's oven. His dad made the best bolillos. Thanks, Juanito.
My mom said that's for always keeping the cemetery so nice for Dia de los Muertos. She told me to give you some pozole.
Tell your mom thank you. And that's when it hit me. Food is all around. I could mix what we had, and I'm sure that would bring Chuy back. Hey, Juanito, would you like to help me with a really important task? I think my excitement made him curious, and he nodded. Okay, we need to collect a little bit of food from everyone. We need to bring Chuy's spirit back to the cemetery before sunrise, or he can't rest with Tia Aurelia. You do the bottom of the cemetery, and I'll do the top. Let's meet by the back path.
Okay, I'm on it.
We couldn't have done it without everyone's help. We both collected so much food, then made our way to the end of the back path. We filled a box with hallowed ground and layered all the food inside and set some candles out to light his way and waited. And waited. We waited for so long our stomachs started to growl. All that running around made us hungry, and there was plenty of food in the box, so we started to feast. Everything just smelled so amazing. We laughed and joked as we ate that there'd be none left for Chuy soon. But right then, we heard some faint barking in the distance and saw a small glowing chihuahua running towards us down the lit path. It was Chuy! Our plan worked! We gave him some chicken, and he was happy to follow us for more. We walked up the hill and met Tia Aurelia before resting time. She was so relieved and happy to see Chuy. We said our goodbyes until next time, and the cemetery fell asleep for another year. The next day, everything was different. I realized that sometimes, even though Dia de los Muertos can be chaotic, it's worth it to be able to spend time with those we remember. That day I got a new nickname, La Guardiana. It means the guardian. I had finally found my place among the living and the dead.
Oh, hi. Oh, see. No, I'm not crying. You're crying. Oh, just got dirt in my eye. Jeez. Oh. Well, that story was equally sweet and scary. A huge thanks to my puppet pals for helping us tell the cuento. Thanks, gang. You were wonderful. Weren't they great? I loved them. All right, mijitos, I have a very special guest in the studio with me today. Everybody, say hello to Mr. Damian Flores. Hola, Mr. Flores.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi. Can you tell us about yourself, Damian?
Yeah, of course. My name's Damian Flores. I was born right here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm from the Old Town neighborhood. I went to school at Reginald Chavez Elementary, at Washington Middle School, then Albuquerque High School, and I graduated from the University of New Mexico. And now I am a Dean of Students at Albuquerque High School. Also, I'm a radio DJ on 89.9 KUNM.
Oh, wow, you on the radio?
Yeah.
I love music.
Oh, it's wonderful. It was something that I've been doing a very long time.
Wow.
But before I started all of that, I became a poet, but first, a storyteller.
Oh, that's what we're doing here. We're telling stories. Damian, I understand you have a very spooky story from your tío here in Albuquerque.
That's right. It was my great uncle. Yeah, my grandpa's brother. His name was Eddie. Do you want to hear about it?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, this story starts when I was in the 8th grade. Then was the first year that I was going to go out trick-or-treating with my friends on Halloween night by ourselves.
Oh, wow.
And so Grandpa warned us to be good little kids while we were out in the streets, to be careful to not let any of the spooky stuff get us, but most importantly, so that way we were good little kids trick-or-treating, being very respectful. And he warned us not to end up like Uncle Eddie.
What happened to Uncle Eddie?
All right, well, Uncle Eddie was young back in the year 1942.
Wow.
He signed up to be a soldier in the army during the World War II era. Back then, they lived in the neighborhood San Jose, down south of the train tracks, right at the edge of the neighborhood, the edge of the city.
Wow.
And my Uncle Eddie was known to be a bad kid.
Uh-oh.
He got into a lot of trouble, a lot of fights. He had a bad reputation, Grandpa said.
Oh, no.
And as Grandpa told us his story, we gestured over to a picture of Uncle Eddie wearing his army uniform.
Uh-huh.
And in that picture, Uncle Eddie doesn't look like he was a troublemaker at all. But Grandpa had then said, you never can judge a person by their picture. So later, Uncle Eddie was getting ready to leave for World War II. Him and all the other boys in the neighborhood were getting sent to basic training in California. They were going to take the train all the way to the end of the line. So the day before they left, the neighborhood threw a big party for all of the boys that were going to be leaving. And at that moment, Uncle Eddie hatched a plan. He saw that everyone there in the neighborhood was attending the party. So that meant nobody was at their homes to protect their valuables.
Uh-oh. I don't like where this is going, Damien.
Oh, no, it was a bad decision. Uncle Eddie thought that he was going to rob every one of those houses.
He was going to rob them?
Take all of their money, jewelry, valuables, and then he would go to California and nobody would ever know it was him. So he started doing that, one house at a time. Eventually, he got to the house on the corner, and it belonged to an old widowed woman. Her name was Lupe.
Lupe.
And Lupe had lost her husband years ago, and it was rumored that she was rich beyond everybody's means.
Wow.
That she had jewelry, that she had famous paintings, fancy furniture, amazing things. So Eddie broke into her house through the window. When he got into the living room, he noticed there was no light in the house.
What?
The candles were all burned out. He noticed that there was a strange smell that he had never smelled before. On the ground, he saw chicken feathers scattered
Chicken
everywhere.
feathers?
Also chicken beaks, bones laid around. He went into one room and he saw on the wall a santo with its eyes taken out. Another santo with its head taken off. All these spooky signs everywhere. But Eddie wasn't scared. He thought, these rumors of Lupe being a witch, those are just stories. And so he went under the bed looking for something to steal. And he found a suitcase. So he took it out, placed it on top of the bed. And when he opened it, he was expecting to find $100 bills, diamonds, gold rings, rubies.
Yeah.
But what he found was pictures of people in our neighborhood
Oh, my.
with their eyes burned out, with little straight pins and sewing needles stuck into their stomachs, their hearts, their throats. And Eddie noticed that these people in our neighborhood were all sick. He realized at that moment, this must be some kind of brujeria. And in that suitcase, he noticed a pin cushion that was shaped like a calavera, a skull,
A skull.
a skeleton.
Wow.
And at that moment, he decided to play a joke. He took the straight pins and the sewing needles out of the pictures, and he started poking them into the pincushion. Then Grandpa said at that moment, back at the party, Lupe must have felt those pins going into the pincushion, because at that moment, she got sick. Everyone saw her coughing. She got a little bit sick to her stomach, and she had to leave as fast as she could, embarrassed that she had been around all those people. But Grandpa said he knew that it wasn't embarrassment why she left.
Yeah.
She knew that somebody was cursing her.
Oh, my.
So she ran back to that house. Uncle Eddie had heard the door open, and when he had heard her walk into the home, he jumped out the bedroom window and ran away as fast as he could, hoping that nobody would chase after him. And when he got home that night, he met with my grandpa for one last time, for one last brotherly hangout. Eddie told Grandpa everything he had seen in that home. And Grandpa thought, it's just make-believe. Those are just stories. But Uncle Eddie laughed, felt like he was going to get away with it. And the next day, all of the soldiers in the neighborhood who were going off to basic training gathered their families at the train station, brought a huge crowd of people. And as Eddie was about to walk on the train, as it was leaving, he felt somebody grab his hair from the back. They pulled his hair back, and there Grandpa had seen from a distance Lupe, the bruja, leaning in and cursing Uncle Eddie in his ear, whispering all of the awful things that was going to be in store for him. And Eddie stood on the train, and when he turned around to look at Lupe, she had her old-fashioned box camera right at her heart, and she took his picture.
Oh, my.
Uncle Eddie got on that train, and it left for California. His family wouldn't see him for years until after the war. And when he came home, we found out that Uncle Eddie had been a prisoner. He was captured, and he was locked away in a bamboo jail cell in the jungle. And there he had survived, but he went through a lot of suffering. And Grandpa said when Eddie came back home, he wasn't the same as he was. He was meaner. He was angry. He came home sick. And years after, Uncle Eddie had lost everything. His home, his job, his families, and lastly, his life. Grandpa told us Uncle Eddie was found one night after a bad winter storm. He had died out in the street with nobody there to take care of him or watch over him. It was so sad, but Grandpa had a feeling that it was the bruja's curse that had come true.
Oh my, that's so sad, Damien.
I know, and it was scary as well.
Yeah.
Grandpa had warned us, all of my friends, for us to be good kids because we never knew if there was somebody out in the neighborhood that would get revenge like Lupe did. We would never know if somebody had brujeria hidden up their sleeves to get back at us if we did something bad. So Grandpa warned us, don't throw any rocks at windows. Don't vandalize. Don't steal candy that didn't belong to us.
Nope.
And we listened to Grandpa. And we had a wonderful night that night. Still a little creeped out by Grandpa's story. We went around from house to house, got so much candy. But the last house where we trick-or-treated, the woman who answered the door said, "Oh, look at your beautiful costumes. Let me get a picture." And she took out her camera and she took a Polaroid right of us in the doorway. And it didn't sit right with me. Because the last thing Grandpa had warned us before we went out was don't let anybody have your picture because you don't know if there's some type of curse that they would do, just like Eddie had found in that suitcase. Don't let people have your picture, Grandpa warned, because you never know if somebody's out there with brujeria coming after you.
Wow. Damien, that's a wild story and scary too. Thank you.
And thank you for having me and listening to my story.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing it. Wow. Well, that's all the time we have for Cuentos de las Sombras. Thanks for joining us today. And thank you, Damien. We'd love to hear from all of you about what you think about our stories. Do you want to see more stories like these, like Damien's? Do you have stories that you want to tell? Well, if you do, send us an email at info@blackouttheatre.com or mail Blackout Theatre at P.O. Box 40153, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87196. Well, I'm Jackie the Jackalope, and for my puppet friends and my friend Damien, good night.
Adios.
Adios. Bye.